Hello everyone, this is Muhammad Ali, and today we will talk about merging and appending data in Stata. So this is a third video in the series of Stata Masterclass that I have on my channel. It has been a while since I posted videos on this topic, but now I plan to continue that series. And if you haven't watched the first two videos in the series, then links are in the description. Today I will talk about merging and appending. Idea is that I will give you some description of the methods, what do they mean and how to do that using dummy data. And in the next video in the series, I will use some real data. My plan is to have one video on macro data using WDI dataset, and I'll try to merge it with some other dataset using macro data. The third video in the series will be on demographic and health surveys and multiple indicator cluster surveys that are usually very widely used in demographic and health studies. And usually students in Pakistan also, many students are using that for their master's and PhD thesis. Most often they have problems merging data sets because there are different types of data sets, and also there are some complications when the research questions are a little bit complicated. So today I have created this dummy data set, and in a sense it's a micro data set. So these are individuals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are their IDs. Their incomes have been recorded for the year 2010, right? And I will try to show you with this dummy data set. I have these 4 sheets. This is the first one. Second one is the same set of individuals, same IDs, but for their incomes 5 years later. So what if I want to have a panel of these 2 sheets, right? Of course, these are just 6 IDs, 6 individuals, very easy to copy paste, right? When data sets are bigger, when you have multiple data sets, it's not that easy. In the first 2, we had income as the same variable. We just need to add a data set that from 1.2 to 1.1 so that we have one complete data set with all the individuals having both incomes in the both years. So that will be done using append. So think of append like this. So this is the data set that I have. I need to copy this from here, right, in Excel. I'm just making an example. So this is what I have to do. If you want to do something like this, so zooming out a little, if you want to do something like this is called appending. It's not merging, it's appending. Okay, merging would be something like you have data for these 6 individuals, income data, and in a separate data set you have some data for the same individuals that is not income, that is something else like age and education, like we have in this sheet. Same individuals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, same year for the initial time period, and now we have age and education. So if I wanted to see if age or education has some role to play in their income, I would need to put these indicators, these variables together with this data right here. So let me go back a little. Okay, now I'm at the initial spot. So what I need is, for merging, what I need is I need to have these 2 variables right next to the income variable right here, right? So it's quite simple here, right? It is simple because we have 1 year, right? And we have sorted IDs here, right? And we have no missing values. So for example, it's not like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here, but we have 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 here, and 2 is completely missing. So there is no empty row here. Is if it was something like this, right? Then you cannot copy paste, right? you have to copy this one first in front of this one, and then leave this empty, copy the rest and put it back here, right? So that's not really feasible, right? It's very time consuming and it's prone to errors. If in this data set I want to have two other variables and making sure that each ID and each year is matched correctly, if because I need to make sure, right? So for this ID, this first person in 2010, his income was this, and in 2010 his age was 25 and education was 8 years, right? So let's go to Stata. So since I have the file, dummy file in Excel, I have already created these Stata file, but I will just show you, just to repeat, how to import data from Excel to Stata. I've done this in my previous videos. Just if you want to go back and check, you can. So I go to import Excel spreadsheet, go here, and this is my data right here, and I open it, right? And then it tells me that this is the preview of the data set. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to click this part right here, and we have to tell Stata that the first row in my data set is actually variable names. So do not treat it as observations, treat it as variable names. And then I click OK. Now when I go to the data viewer, you can see that all of this is black. Black means, black or blue means that that is the type of number. You can do some number operations. You have to save it, save as, and like I have already these data sets, so you give it some name and then you save it. Okay, all right. So uh, what do we have? We have we downloaded the first data set, right? So this is, if you can see here, we downloaded data from 1.1, and if you wanted to do it for the second sheet, I'll just show you very quickly. Go to the same file, and here you can identify sheets. So I choose first one 1.1, sorry, and you can choose 1.2. Then it will, you can see that when I change it, the values are changing here. So if you save this one, this will be the second file, and third and so on, fourth. We have 4 sheets. You can create 4 different Stata files with that, right? All right. So we have this data set from income 1.1. Okay. Now, what do I need? I can clear this so that I can copy paste some of the commands. You will see in a minute what I mean. So I've opened this data one. Data one is actually the income 1.1 data from here. So I imported this data in Stata and called it data one, right? Now what I need to do, I need to append this data with data in 1.2, right? So we saw that if I wanted to have second year observation for ID number 1, person number 1, I need to copy this data and paste it below, right? So what I need to do is I need to type append, and this is the command, and then using means that we have to define the uh, file which which we are going to use to append data from. So I have already opened data one. Data one is my master file right now. I'm in this file right now. So the file that is open right now is my master file. The file that I'm merging it with, the file that I'm importing data from, is a using file in Stata's lingo. So I change it to data 2. Data 2 contains the observations from income 1.2 sheet right here. This one. This one I imported in Stata and I saved it as data 2. Okay. So I just copied this whole thing right here, put it here, and change it to data 2, right? I could also do it using point and click methods, but I find it much easier and convenient in the long run if you know how to deal with commands, because you can save them in the do files and uh, change them later on if there is a need. Okay, so I just click it. So this was the initial data set. Now we have appended this data set with the new one. So now I have the panel longitudinal data set for all these individuals, right? So for each individual, we have, I can also sort it, right? Sort data. So we have two observations for individual number one. One is for 2010, one is for 2015. You can already see that this his income has increased, right? And you can do this you can do this kind of many mathematical exercises to do some data analysis with it. So this is how you append data. Okay. Okay. Now we have I could actually go back to the first file, like one income 1.1, and then I could show you how to merge data. But I want to show you if you have different individuals or different time periods in the data sets, what happens in the data set actually. So I will show you using this combined data set that I have right now. So I'm using this data set where we have 1.2, 1.1 and 1.2 together, right? So the sorting order is messed up. You can already see that 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. And if I want to merge this data now, age and education, this one, if I import this data now and merge it, what I want is I want to have income and education and age here, third as fourth and fifth variables right here. If I simply copy paste it, what happens is that I do not have 1 1 and 2 2 here. It's just one observation per one person, and this is for 2010. If I simply copy paste, what will happen is that I can actually try to show you what happens. Okay, this is, as you can see quite clearly, this is wrong, right? Because this belongs to the first individual, this belongs to the second individual. Now, not only that it's not in front of second individual, it's in front of 2015. This is absolutely wrong, right? So basically we can drop this. Okay, so this is what merge, how merge works in this data. Okay, merge is a command, okay, and not with caps, and we have three types of merge. I would say no, four types of merge. Merge 1 to 1, or it can be merge. Okay, I'll write it in the second line. Merge 1 to many. M stands for many. Many to 1. Merge many to many. Okay, so what does this mean? So it means that we have this first number is for the master data set that we have. So right now we have this data set open, right? And we are going to use the combination of ID and year. Remember that in this data set we also have here, right? So we have to make sure that these two numbers are represented in front of first person and in front of this year. So we do not want this observation in front of 2015, right? So by this combination, we have unique observations for in this data set for each individual, right? So for first observation, for first individual in 2010, we have one observation each for age and education, right? And in this data set that we already have for income, we have two IDs for each individual, but one ID each, one observation each for the combination of ID and year. Let's say that we did not have this year thing, right? So then it will not be unique because we will have two observations for each individual, and that would be treated as many in this merging setup. So right now what we have is that we are going to use a data set that has multiple observations per individual, but we have one observation per year of individual. So we have unique observations per individual and year combination. So the first one here is for the master data. As I said before, master data is the one that we have opened right now. The file or the data set that is open in this data right now. So this data set, even though it is not saved after merging, this will be called master data, right? And the file that we are going to merge it with, this data3 thing that we have, which has data for this one, this is called using data, right? So we will use using data to merge it. And for using, we have to identify a number 1 or m here. What this tells you is that when you're merging two files, and after this you have to also define which variables are you going to use to merge this data. Because if I simply merge it like this, it will do, it might give you an error, but even if it is successful, if it will do something like what I just did 2 minutes ago. I copy pasted variable 4 and 5 from data set 3 or age and education sheet from Excel, and it was completely wrong because it did not match it with the right individual and the right year, right? So we have to define for which variable Stata should look for in order to match each and every observation with the right individual ID and the year. So we have two variables, individual ID and year, in this data set that we care for, right? These are the identification variables. The variable that we are interested in to merge is income, but these are the identification variables that will make it unique for Stata to compare these. What Stata will do is that it will look for ID and year in master data set. It will also look for these two variables in using data set, and it will then look for each and every individual along with the respective year to see what observation of income should be matched with the observation that is already in master data. Okay, enough talking. Let's try to do it. And after that, you have to define a file, the using file that we need to merge together, and that should do the thing. Okay. So, and just briefly, what this does is that, for example, if your master data set had one observation per combination of these variables, let's say that in your master data you had one observation per ID and year, but in your using data you had multiple observations. So let's say you had more than one instances of individual 1 and year 2010. Let's say for individual 1 there were two observations for 2010. That would tell us that we have to tell Stata that yes, in master file we have unique combination of these things, but in using file we have many of the observations. Many means that there could be duplicates. There could be multiple observations for each combination of these IDs. Same goes in reverse. Sometimes we have many observations per combination of identification variables in the master file, but we have unique IDs in the using file. So for that case, we have m to 1, yeah, meaning that in master file we have many observations per this identification, but in the using we have only one, and then we have many to many. So merge 1 and 1. Again, this is unique observations in master data, unique observations in using data, according to which IDs. You can double click this and this. and you can also type it down, it's up to you. Then we have to define the using file path. So here is the file path. It's wrong, I know that this is for data 2, but we are going to change it. You need to go back and check what is the name of the data file. We need to, okay, what is the name of the data file? Yeah, here it is, data for edu, right? So we will use this file for edu, and then I click it, right? So let's understand this table right here. When you merge a data set, it tells you how many observations were merged correctly and how many were not merged correctly. And Stata does a very neat thing. It creates a variable called underscore merge, and these are the values for underscore merge. If you want to know, let's say if you were merging 200,000 observations with 500,000 observations in two files, and some of them got merged, some of them did not get merged, you can simply use this variable. If you want to delete the data that was not that was present in master file, but it was not merged, if you want to delete that, you simply use this command, drop if underscore merge double equal to 1. This will delete all the 6 observations that were not matched from master file. So if there were some values in the using file that were not matched, it would show some number here as well. Right now it's not the case, and why it is not the case I will show you in a minute. So in total 6 observations were matched, and it's quite intuitive, right? Why only 6 observations were matched? Because in our master data set we had observations for each individuals twice for 2010 and 15, but in the using data set we only had observation for 2010, and there were 6 observations. So these are the 6 observations for 2010 that are matched, but there are 6 observations in the master file that for 2015, but since there are no matches for those in the using file, these 6 observations were not matched. Let's look at the data. So this is what it is. So for ID 1, first individual 2010, we have income. Now in front of it we have age and education. So it's correctly matched. And when it is matched, the underscore merge variable says that it is matched, and the value for that is 3. And for first individual in 2015, we have income, but we don't have their age and education, right? And this says that this observation was only available in master dataset, the dataset that we were in, and that's true, right? There was no corresponding value for first individual in 2015. That's why we have empty values here, and same goes for the rest. So this is how merging works. The previous one we saw was appending. This is merging. So I hope that it is clear. And one more example that I had with you for you was this one right here, income 2. This is something that will use the same technique that we use for appending, but what this data set is, for example, there were 2 individuals. Let's say you were in the field collecting data with your other colleague who was collecting data at the same time from other street in the same neighborhood, right? You collected data for 6 individuals from your street. That other individual, your colleague, collected data for other 6 individuals. Those would be these ones, right? And now you want to compile this data together to have one big data file with all of these IDs together, right? And for that you will use the same appending method that you used before. Let's try this. Okay, let's clear it. Everything is cleared now. So which file is this one? Okay, first one, we use the income 1.1 data, the first one, and now I want to merge the other data set that my colleague has also collected at the same time. I want to make a data file just to have a look. In this one we have 6 individuals, 1 to 6, and I want to make sure that my colleague's data is also merged with this one. So I will not merge it. Remember, this IDs, the same thing, simple thing to remember is that the ID, year, and income variables are the same, right? Individuals are different, variables are the same. It could be individuals could be changing, income could be changing, but variables are the same, right? And we want to have more data for the same variables. Just to put it very simply, when we have same variables and we want to add more data into the same variables, we use appending. But when we have one set of variables on one file and other set of variable in another file for the same set of individuals, that is very important. So if you wanted to merge uh, income file of 1 to 6 individuals with the age and education file for 7 to 12 individuals, that will not work, right? Because we need to have the same individuals in both files so that Stata can recognize them and put the same values in front of them, right? So now we are appending it. Append using that data set was data 3. That I was confusing it with the education data set before. Sorry for that. Data 3 has the data for 7 to 12 individuals. Okay, let's see. Now we have data of income for all 12 individuals. And this is how you basically merge and append data. Sorry that this video got long. This was not my intention. But what I try to do is that along the way, I try to plug in some of the useful information that might be useful for you later on. That's why the videos get a bit longer. Thank you very much for watching.